Oh, hi, it's Opie. Welcome back to Let's Play Katawa Shoujo. We continue on with the Hanako good ending route. Let us continue on. My pen busily scrawls onto the slowly filling page of my notebook. My other hand remains on the page of a reference book that I borrowed from the library, marking my spot as my eyes flicker to and fro. As I work, I occasionally mark red circles or underlines onto the photocopy sheets of paper that lie on the table in front of me. Wanting a change of scenery from the library and to avoid the distractions of the classroom, I decided to make use of the Shanghai for some quiet study time. It ended up being nice and quiet as expected, and being able to get coffee while I study is a nice bonus. Hanako may have returned to her normal self since she came out of her room, but I've done quite the opposite. Daily routine may have returned to us, but I feel as if I'm a different person. Maybe I'm not. It's only been a few days, after all, since I've decided I wanted to try and get out of the rut I found myself in after my accident. But I want to change, and now I'm actively working towards that goal. Or, at least, I would like to think that I am. Ugh, this is impossible. Brute forcing isn't gonna work. What's more, I have another piece of writing that I have to do after this. I fear that's what's going to be no easier. That it's going to be no easier. Um, I look in mild surprise to the source of the tentative voice. Yuko stands at the head of the table with a damp towel in hand, clearly having taken the opportunity to clean the tables while no other patrons were around. She looks curious, her eyes as much as on my work as on me. What's the matter? I was just wondering, what sort of work are you having so much trouble with? Oh, it's just history. I'm fine with science and math, so I'm trying to get my other subjects up to par. Yuko looks positively delighted at this development. I feel like I just chose the right answer on some big quiz show. Oh, I think I can help you with that. If you don't mind. Of course. I briefly considered turning down the offer in order not to cause her too much trouble, but she looks too excited about this for me to do it. It would be mean to shoot her down like that after such a reaction. If you're willing to help, I really appreciate it. She claps her hands together and quickly deposits her towel on the counter before returning and taking a seat across from me. I take my notebook off the top of the textbook and hand it over for her to peruse. Sorry. So you're studying the Edo period? Yeah, I'm not really much good at this though. She takes the textbook and reads a few pages from the random section near the middle for a bit, but the aura of enthusiasm she has been radiating previously is rapidly sapping away. I'm guessing this isn't the kind of history that you were expecting. Unfortunately not. My main area is European history, especially in the classical area. Sarah. Sorry. What else? Yeah, I can't talk. She looks a bit downcast, but as she carefully closes the book and lays it back down on the table, her face perks up again. Would you like another cup of coffee? Hmm? Oh, yeah, sure. I reach forward and get my book back as Yuko gets up, takes my mug, and slowly walks to the counter to make another brew. As usual, she's absolutely silent as she does this. Every ounce of her concentration is focused on not tripping over or dropping the plain white mug. I take the opportunity to lay back and relax for a bit, the hum of the coffee machine filling the otherwise quiet air. It's the small details like that that makes me realize how much I've come to appreciate the little things in life. The peace and quiet of a local town, the discipline and order of Yamaku, the green of the trees that were so rare in my home city, the relaxed pace at which the aging residents live their lives. Everything feels so certain. It's comforting. I can feel myself beginning to nod off when the sound of the mug coming to rest on the table grabs my attention. It seems like it arrived not a moment too soon. Yoko takes her previous seat once again as I pick myself up and bring a hand around my mug to check its temperature. It's just a little too hot to drink right away, so I blow on it a little. It's a shame that you don't like history all that much. I sort of guessed you might not be more into science. How so? You nearly read out the science fiction section of the library already. It wasn't hard to notice. Hm, you do have a good point there. Well, what can I say? You've pegged me just about right. You sound like oh, sorry. You sound like you really take an interest in history, though, especially considering how specific you were about it. Do you study in that area or something? Go on, digs overseas? Go on, digs overseas. She giggles nervously at the thought. I'd like to visit the Mediterranean sometime and see the old architecture and art for myself, but I don't think I could trust myself to handle such delicate things. I'm saving up to formally study it in the university, although I also read up on it whenever I have free time outside of work. So Mickey was right about her university aspirations. Considering how she fares as a waitress, the more theoretical path may suit Yuko better. It's nice to hear that she has some ambitions, though, considering how hard she works. I nod and take a careful sip of my coffee. By now it's cooled to the right temperature, so I begin to drink while keeping an eye on the book below, trying to read it at the same time. A few minutes pass quietly, Yuko looking out at the window and watching the world go by while I have my coffee and study. A movement catches my eye, and I look up to see Yuko smiling and waving to someone outside. Following her gaze surprisingly reveals the someone to be Hanako. She is looking at us from the side of the street across from where we are. Her usually all too visible timidity is largely absent, probably thanks to there being so few people around her right now. Evidently, she decides to join us, as after a little wave, she gives a quick glance up and down the street and crosses towards the side that the cafe is on. The familiar doorbell to the Shanghai rings out as Hanako enters and makes her way towards the table we're sitting at. Hello, good afternoon. Hi. Oh, wait. Hi, Hanako, what's up? Sorry about that. Nothing, just going for a walk, since the weather was nice. Yeah, I get what you mean. I'm glad I decided to study here instead of the library. It's comfortable in here thanks to that, better than the sometimes quite stuffy library. I look to Yuko, who nods in response. It's nice, just a shame that the summer can't last forever. Oh, wait, sorry, would you like a drink? Hanako shakes her head. Thankfully, it's enough to calm Yuko back down. How are you going with studying? Okay-ish. Oh yeah, have you talked with Lily? I'm interested in too. How is she doing? She's enjoying it, I think. I think that's all we're gonna get out of her. Being around Yuko is tensing her up. Ah, it would be so nice to travel to Scotland. Green fields, castles, lovely small towns, men in kilts, interesting history. Hmm, I can't say I see the appeal of men in kilts myself. It does seem like a picturesque place, though. As we talk, the jingle of the doorbell rings again. Hanako is startled, noticing Yuko's panicked expression at the prospect that she might have leave customers to wait a handful of seconds due to her chatter with us. Yuko gives us a quick bow and hastily skitters over and greets the new customers, an elderly man and his wife. I watch her for a bit, craning my head around to get a good view. Hanako is staring at me with her one visible eye. She averts her head in embarrassment as I turn to make eye contact. I was just thinking that it's nice to have ambitions for the future. Yuko was telling me a little about her university aspirations before. Oh, it's a shame. If she wasn't so neurotic and overworked, I think she could be a really good happy person. As much as I like to play host to Hanako and entertain her a bit, I do need to study as well. To be honest, I don't think the distraction from Yuko helped either. Sorry if I'm a bit distracted. I need to try to get this done, otherwise I'm going to flunk at the history exams pretty hard. I left running in my hand through my hair in frustration. That letter needs doing as well, once I get back to my dormitory room. I hope I have more luck with that than this. Damn. What with? Oh, uh, uh. I was going to write to Iwanako. Right now, though, this is more important. All I've done is rattle myself. I can't focus on the work in front of me when my stomach is slowly turning at the prospect of actually attempting to write her back. After all this time, I force myself to concentrate on the book. Picking up my pen once, I have a quick sip of coffee. After a few seconds, Hanako stops silently watching me and leans back in her seat, relaxing as much as she ever seems to be able to, looking out the window to pass the time. We stay like this for a long time before leaving for the dormitories together. I'm surprised she had the patience to wait me out. Iwano- Iwanako's letter lies upon my desk, beside a blank sheet of lined paper and an unused envelope. The tapping of my pen is the only thing to be heard at this late at night. As I feared, my second test for the day turns out to be just as difficult as the first, if not harder. It's been so many months since we saw each other. We even saw each other. Even so, I can still remember what she looked like, what she sounded like, and what she acted like. By now, though, the details of are beginning to slip away. When I first saw her letter, I barely recognized her handwriting at all. Even the pink pen she always used was forgotten until her writing reminded me of it. I wonder why she didn't use it for the letter. She used to write everything with it. Maybe she thinks it's too mature now. I should be thinking about myself and about what I want to communicate to her. My mind can't stop concentrating on her, though. On the past we shared before it was taken away so suddenly. The bright and slightly garish decorations suit her sense of aesthetics. Picking up the letter to take a closer look at it, I give a long sigh. This is the last link binding me to my past. Iwanako didn't suddenly cease to exist when she left my hospital room for the last time, but I needed this letter to remind me of that. I've had all those feelings neatly filed away. I felt as if I didn't need them, that I could just begin life completely anew. It was easier that way. In the end, I suppose that was a rather naive thing to think. Sooner or later, my past would have caught up with me one way or another. But what am I supposed to say to her? Thank you for thank you for bringing me closure. All the letter did was end the sense of closure as I previously felt. Try as I might, I can't write so much as a single word down on the paper in front of me. I can't even think of what exactly I wanted to say. Putting the letter down on top of the blank sheet, I gathered the materials together and filed them away in my drawer. The clunk of the desk makes it as close as makes me momentarily tense in frustration before I get up to go grab a drink from the vending machine on the first floor. I tried, but I couldn't do it. After all the time that's passed, I still don't know how to deal with Iwanako. Damn. Getting that letter and just like, you don't know what to say. That sucks, man. The library now, while not humming with activity, is noticeably more busy than usual. Exams are not far away, and that's reflected on the number of students burying their noses in textbooks at the tables around us. I've been studying quite a lot in the past few days, just like them in hope of doing well in the exams. This also means that Hanako and I have been playing games less, so she's begun studying as well just to fill in the time. Nevertheless, I found myself forsaken by her on this particular day. The textbook in front of me has remained on the same page for some time. After so much reading on subjects, I couldn't care less about it if not for the exams. My mind is beginning to wander. I found my eyes flicking over to where Hanako would usually be, just like on the days she wasn't in class. Her usual beanbag in the corner of the room is conspicuously unoccupied. It was there that we first really met. I tried to start a conversation with her. She got skittish and eventually bolted from the room altogether. I probably shouldn't smile about it, but it was kind of amusing in hindsight. Nowadays, it's more and more difficult to imagine her doing such a thing. Even with Lily gone, she's been doing well now that she's come out of her room. I want to talk with her, or at least play another game of chess. I'm tired of studying. and it's been a few days since we've really done anything together. The question of where to find Hanako isn't a particularly difficult one. If she's not in the library, chances are she's either in the tea room for some peace and quiet, or in her dormitory room. Deciding to check on them in that order, I pack up my books and make my way out of the library. I stretch and give a loud groan as I walk down the hallway. Studying may be frustrating at times, but with the progress I feel I've made, there's also some sense of pride in getting it done. It's a good feeling. There isn't a sound to be heard from inside as I stand in front of the door to Hanako's room. I guess that isn't very indicative of whether she's inside or not, given how quiet she usually is. Still, she wasn't in the tea room. I try knocking lightly to make my presence known, but I am surprised when I find the door unlocked and yielding at my touch. Hmm. With a small creak, the door opens. It looks like my suspicions were correct. Hanako is indeed here. She's sitting at the table with an open book in front of her, but pays it no heed as she keeps looking out of the window. She looks utterly oblivious to my presence. With her head thoughtfully resting on her hand, she looks calm and collected. It's a shame that she can't look like this more often. Smiling a little, I walk up to the table and softly speak to her. Good evening, Hanako. Hanako heads Hanako's head turns a little to see me, but she's still only half there. I put my hand on the table to lower my head to, to better look at her face, mildly curious about what mood she's in. "Hmm, What's up?" She gasps a little, finally acknowledging my presence in the room for the first time. Hanako's blushing really heavily. Her mouth is open just a little, as if paused mid-sentence. Most striking, though, is what she's doing. She's looking directly at me. Her eyes are pinned at on my own from such a close distance that I can almost see my reflection in them. They don't turn away, nor move at all. They're absolutely still, just looking into mine. They're dark, and give her an almost analytical air. Even when reading on subjects she has no interest in, she would appear to be wrapped in her work. To a casual observer, she absorbs information very well, and even now, I can feel that. I feel like I'm seeing something behind those eyes that I've never saw before. I don't know what it is, though. Hanako? Her lips move just a little, silently mouthing something. She looks like she's on the verge of saying something, but won't say it. But that's the way Hanako always is, on the verge of saying something but never quite doing it. As I look intently into her eyes, I realize something. Everyone has their own thoughts, things they want to say, their own worldview. But I can't work out what Hanako wants to say, and I can't work out what she's thinking. I never have been able to. It's frustrating. It feels like I don't know her at all, despite all the time we spent together. He, so. It's only now that I find myself blushing. I've been looking directly into Hanako's eyes from such a short distance with absolutely no regard for her, and she's been looking into mine without shirking away. Sorry. I quickly look away while covering my face with my hand. Hanako just does just the same. Another awkward silence reigns. I hate these. At first I accepted them as just being the fact of life around Hanako, but now all they feel like is an affirmation of how little we've been able to communicate. Some anger makes its way in the complex mixture of emotions that I'm experiencing right now. I want to bridge that gap between us. Friends shouldn't have to tiptoe around each other like this. I speak before I can argue myself out what I'm going to do. My scarring isn't as bad as Hanako's, and I can't possibly compare my life to hers, but I want to assure her that she's not alone. Doing this in such a blunt manner might be the only way to get my point across. Hanako, I want to show you something. I take a deep breath to prepare myself. This could backfire badly, but I feel as if we've come close enough to this to be okay. I'm not going to strip naked or anything weird. I'm just going to take off my shirt. Hanako's eyes grows to the size of saucers. Her face is in an amusing mixture of curiosity and nervousness as she stands. It helps takes the edge off of my own nervousness at doing this in front of another person. Slowly, with my entire body feeling tense, I unknot my tie and begin to loose the first of the buttons. I'm trying to mentally block out Hanako to make this easier, but it's really not really working. As I work my way down, I expect to hear some form of protest from her. She remains silent, though, that which just makes this feel even stranger. With the last of my shirt unbuttoned, I take a breath and look at her. Hanako's gaze is fixed on my scarring, as expected, and once I nod to say it's okay, she steps forwards and tentatively places her hand on the vertical line running down my chest. The scarring on her hand and pattern of the damaged skin across its surface contrasts with a single uniform line that makes up mine. Her hand isn't trembling at all, unlike what I predicted. This is the scar from the surgery that followed my heart attack. The surgeons had to cut it open my chest to operate on my heart. I never knew. Hanako's words are calmer and softer than usual. The soft feeling of her fingers moving from my scar to my breast makes me hesitate a little before continuing on. You're the sorry. You're the first person to see this since I left the hospital. But why are you showing this to me? I wanted to prove myself that I can do this, that I could accept my past and move on. I wanted to show that to you as well. She nods. From her reaction, she seems to know how difficult this is for me, more than anything. The scar represents a visible reminder of my condition, a reminder that I'm not normal anymore. That's something that, until now, I had tried my hardest to ignore. As the minutes tick by, Hanako's gaze lingers. Her eyes look less focused on my scarring than before. The situation feels a bit different than it previously did. It makes me feel slightly uncomfortable. Her hand retreats as I draw my shirt closed and begin to button it up. Her blushing face suddenly returns to its typical tense and timid state as she looks away. The room is completely silent as I fix my shirt and tie, feeling put off after such an unexpectedly intimate moment. So, I guess you're not the only one that's scarred. Hanako smiles a little at the joke, thankfully lightening the atmosphere a bit. Thank you, Hisao. I think I understand. I give a long sigh of relief. I really didn't know how she'd take it, but I'm glad everything seems to have worked out as I hoped. Hanako's smile only approves that further. Finding the path that I want to follow now, and what Hanako needs to do is to find her own. It's something I can't help her with, and it's something that she needs to overcome her past in order to do. Hanako checks her watch. It's getting late by now. Hisao, um, yeah, I better be going. I'll be thankful for some sleep. It's been a long day after all. Good night, Hanako. Good night. I make my way out of her room into the hallway, remaining silent as I do so. I think both of us have gone through a few motions today. That's very interesting. So you see, Hanako has nothing to worry about. I mean, I'm scarred too. We have something in common. Ooh. We're out in the city about, but I'm going to unfortunately cut this short, and we'll continue on next week on this, so stay tuned for more. Later, guys.